Welcome to another episode of the Personal PR Show. And today we are here with Lizi and Mark. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi. Together.
Yeah, hi.
Awesome. Oh my God. Thank you so much for making the time. It's always difficult to find a time in your slot because you're such busy people, number one. And number two, to find a slot that accommodated the three of us. So thank you so much.
Nice.
Guys, this is going to be amazing. This is actually the first of our panels. We're starting a new year, starting a new series as well. It's still the Personal PR Show, but it's a series within the Personal PR Show, the Personal PR Show panels. I don't know what we would call it. But anyway, I'm so excited to have Lizi and Mark with us for the first panel ever. And yes, maybe you would like to know what let's say the common thread is, the common denominator of these two amazing people that we have here today on the show. And it is the fact that they share a lot of love and experience for TEDx conferences, but from two different sides. Lizi is a multiple TEDx speaker, and she will tell us all about it in a second. And Mark is a TEDx organizer and has been organizing TEDx Stuttgart in Germany for the past 10 plus years. So this is going to be amazing because we're going to talk about TEDx from two different fronts, two different perspectives. And I can't wait. I can't wait. We have interviewed Lizi separately and also Mark separately. And now it's really the time where, you know, these two amazing forces come together and it's going to be an explosion of knowledge and excitement and inspiration for you guys. So let's get going. Yes, how about that, guys? Shall we? Are you ready?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm slightly nervous at how high you've set the bar for this conversation, Jessica.
I think you have
I totally agree. Yes.
I think, Lizi, you have already set the bar for yourself because who can claim, excuse me, Mark, maybe this is the first question, who can claim that they have had already 3 TEDx talks? Not many people, right?
Right. It's rare. It's actually rare because a lot of organizers maybe think that one talk per person kind of is enough. But if you have different topics or if you can present different angles, then that's a very interesting viewpoint as well. So, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And you set the bar very high because I saw your last interview, Lizi, and that was awesome. So you really did a good job there.
Thank you. I mean, I do feel like I do need to correct something, Jessica, which is that actually I've given 2 TEDx talks and I was lined up to do a third one. And I won't go into the detail because it probably isn't right to do that. But suffice to say, it got to the point where it didn't feel like a good fit for me. And it took huge courage to say to an organizer of TEDx, thank you so much for offering to give me this opportunity, but I don't think this event is the right one for me because, you know, I put a lot of thought and time into what I wanted to say and how I was going to say it. And I wanted to make sure that it really was getting the chance to be heard in the very best possible place. And I feel like actually I want to hold on to this talk and wait for the right event. So I think I'm sure Mark would agree that not all TEDx's are kind of created equal. They're although they all come under the TEDx banner, every organizer kind of has their own way of doing it and their own approach. And that was something that I didn't realize when I first started this journey.
Wow,
Right,
Mark,
right.
Before you say what you have to say, which is going to be amazing for sure, Lizi, I would like to congratulate you for the courage that you had, because there are so many people out there that are desperate, really desperate. Mark, I think, can confirm, to get a TEDx talk, and they wouldn't never say no. They would never, withdraw. And even though maybe sometimes it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel like the right angle, the right fit. So chapeau to you. Well done, Lizi. For the courage. And Mark, has it ever happened to you that somebody withdrew from
not in that direction or not from that space or standpoint, I would say, but of course we as organizers have to sort out 50 plus applications per year that just don't have the quality or the fit for our stage. But as Lizi said, every organizer is different, every location is different, every team is different, every approach to the speakers and to organizing the speakers is different. So I totally understand. And also, if you have the feeling, Lizi, that your topic doesn't fit a specific organization or maybe place or venue, even, I don't know what the topic was behind, but that you have the courage to say that's a no fit, so to speak. So yeah, absolutely understandable.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly.
Yeah. And it really was, I took a lot of time to come to that decision, and like, you know, I felt a bit panicky that day of messaging the organizer, and but once I'd done it, I knew it was the right thing to do. So I guess what I learned from that is I know that everyone who wants to be a speaker, who is a speaker, like TEDx is
Right.
it's the holy grail. Right? It's the one that most of us are desperate for, and I absolutely subscribe to that, and I want to get a whole load of TEDx's under my belt. But I think we need to also remember that it's a two-way street. Like, yes, we should be really, really grateful and appreciative that we've been given this opportunity, but also the organizers need us as speakers. And it's not just this kind of thank you so much for giving me your red dot and letting me stand on it. But actually, you know, I think that it's helped me to understand and appreciate my own worth as a speaker, and that kind of needs to be respected as well, I think.
Definitely. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yes, Mark, what is your take on this? So do you feel that most of your speakers, maybe all of your speakers, are kind of, let's say, super grateful to you guys, to the organizers, because you chose them? Or do you think that they also recognize their worth? Because sometimes we're so intimidated by an opportunity that we forget our worth.
Yeah, that's a very complicated question, because on many levels. Because of course, a lot of them feel flattered about our approach if we approach them. A lot of them have no idea or no experience what a TED Talk means. Let's say, just one example, you go to a high school professor or university professor, and he just has the experience of talking in front of students for hours. And now he has to compress, so to speak, his topic into, let's say, roughly 15 to 18 minutes. That's very, very hard for some people. Or another example, we had an artist, a beautiful guy, really cool. He was so passionate, and he was standing on the streets in a big city to promote his art. So he was ready, he was experienced in talking with people, but not on a stage in front of 500 people. And he was so scared, and I think he never did a talk afterwards, after our event, but he was so committed and so passionate that he just, he did it very, very well. And that's, in my opinion, is the holy grail, not to find a professional speaker or to find the best or most amazing or the most well-known speaker, but the speakers who have passion, who live their topic, and who have something to tell. And that's, for me personally, is the thing to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, what you just said, one of the latest things that you have just said is very interesting, because just the other day I heard somebody, I can't even remember in which context who that was, but I heard somebody say that TEDx organizers try to refrain from engaging professional speakers, right? And they prefer people who are not professional speakers, and maybe even people who are not looking to launch their speaking career, because some people maybe are not professional speakers yet, but this is their intention, and they would like to inaugurate, so to say, this career, launch this career with a TEDx talk, right? Because it will get a lot of clout and attention and so on. So is it something that you would share as well? Are you also trying to avoid professional speakers?
Yes and no. There are organizations that try to push and try to sell professional speakers on a really professional level. Like, you want this keynote, oh, you have to pay, and then we send you him or her or whatsoever. So that's not the way we want to go. We want innovative people. We want cool topics. We want stories behind these topics or talks and not just selling something. Selling from the stage is forbidden as well. So we have to go for individuals, or we want to go for individuals. On the other hand, if you have a speaking career and if you are well known in your topic and if you are professional in your story, then if you get rejected by one TEDx, I don't want to encourage you to apply for all TEDx's around the world, but don't give up. Go to the next one that maybe fits as well and ask them. No collection emails or something like that. That's a bit weird, and we had some in the past as well. But yeah, that's not the best picture. But if you have a topic and you are passionate about it, try it.
Yeah, I see. I see. Thank you for these insights into the TEDx world. And Lizi, let's talk about your career, your TEDx talks and your speaking career. What started first?
What started first? Well, initially I started out in this business as a coach, which is still kind of the foundation of everything that I do, coaching people around confidence. And I started speaking at small events, really just as a way of kind of branching out a bit more and being able to kind of reach more people all at once. Because when you are coaching somebody, you get to know them really well and you go deep and you build a strong bond and relationship. And when you're speaking, you don't get that, but you can still have this real impact on the way someone thinks about something, or the way that they go away and consider the way something about themselves. And I loved how, in my opinion, speaking kind of complements coaching. And so I started speaking just at small events and just realizing I love it. I love connecting with an audience in that kind of short, meaningful way that you go away and you just don't know whose life you've impacted. And so I kind of got to the point where I thought, actually, I want to really develop my speaking more. I want to learn to be a good speaker, not just do what comes naturally to me, but also learn about it. And I want to get onto some big stages and kind of start to really be known as this person who speaks. And from that perspective, TEDx was then kind of the obvious goal to be aiming for, to put in my vision board. I created a vision board and TEDx was right there in the center of it for about 2 years. And in the meantime, everything else was kind of bubbling away, and the coaching and the speaking, and I was doing it. So, well, I don't think I have an answer to your question about which one came first, because they were kind of going alongside each other, I suppose. But I think what I've learned, it's really interesting hearing what Mark's saying, because I think initially I did want to do TEDx as a way of kind of pushing my speaking career forwards. And actually, I don't think that's exactly what it's done for me, although I think it does impress bookers of events to know that I'm a TEDx speaker. I think more than elevating me as a speaker, it elevates me as an authority in my field. And I think that's more important. I think that if you are trusted to stand on the TEDx stage and speak about whatever it is that's been agreed, that means the TEDx organizer recognizes that you have something really important to say about it, that might be a bit different from what anyone else is saying, or new, or a new angle on it that people need to hear. And for me, that's one of the things I've learned on my TEDx journey, is that actually this stage is not necessarily there to help boost my career as a speaker, but to help really cement my authority in kind of my area of expertise.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God. And this way you're a recognized thought leader. Oh my God, in your field. I love this. I love this. Mark, what do you think? I totally agree. What do you think from your perspective?
Yes, I would further say that, of course, selling from the stage and marketing is forbidden. But of course, if you held a TEDx talk and you have afterwards, you can market yourself with that talk, and it will market yourself on that stage because of that stage. So that's absolutely perfectly fine. There might not be a way in 1, 2, 3. it might not beneficial for you in the first place or beforehand, but the experience itself, the training, standing on the stage, marketed afterwards, is so much more on experience than just market yourself before an event. So I totally agree, Lizi. It does much more than marketing, even if you don't market yourself.
Yes, completely.
That is great. Oh my God. So I've just had an idea in the past 10 seconds, which is,
This sounds dangerous.
It's not dangerous, right? Exactly. Usually my ideas are a little bit all over the place. Let's see what you think, guys. So maybe we can, because this is an amazing opportunity that we have to really look at everything from both sides. So there's the side of the perspective of a TEDx speaker and a perspective of a TEDx organizer. We really have to leverage this. So what I have in mind is that we maybe identify 2, 3, 4 touch points in, let's say, in a TEDx journey, in the journey of a TEDx talk, let's say, and then we talk about both perspectives. For example, the first touch point that I imagine is, applying. The second one could be preparing for a TEDx talk. So you get confirmed as a speaker and then you're preparing for the TEDx talk. The third one might be delivering the TEDx talk at the conference. And the fourth one is maybe the follow-up or the marketing that you can do, like of your TEDx talk once it is online, of course, on YouTube and on TEDx website. What do you think? Are you game?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Would love to hear your opinion, Lizi.
Likewise.
Okay, let's go. Then let's start with applying for a TEDx talk. And it might not necessarily be, that you have to apply. Sometimes you even get invited to give a TEDx talk, right, Mark? Sometimes you just reach out to people and ask them if they would like to be, a TEDx speaker. Okay, so should we talk about that first? Who would like to go first and share, 2, 3 ideas that they have?
You can start.
Yeah.
So the application process, I speak for TEDx Stuttgart, so it might be differ for other TEDx events, but for us it's totally different. So we have people we approach, right? Because in our team there are diverse interests, and we ask in our team as well, what is maybe interesting, what is innovative, what is new, what can be fit for our stage. But also we get applications via email, via social media, and of course we have to prove them if they are a fit. And also we get recommendations a lot, so from former speakers or from team members or friends of team members or so, or social media, that we should look in a certain direction for speakers. So it's not only a one-way street, so to speak. So we are totally open as a team, and we rely also on recommendations and applications, because every year we try to set the bar very high for our events, and next year we kind of have to top that. And for that we need good speakers. Yes.
Absolutely. Love that. Yes. Let's hear now what Lizi has to say from her perspective.
I do get asked quite a lot from people. So how did you do it? How do I apply? And I guess 2 main things come to mind. The first one is, I think we can have a tendency to overthink this and to keep putting obstacles in our own path. I can't possibly apply it because I haven't been given the introductions. I don't know the people. I'm not an experienced speaker, whatever it is. And actually, it's not, I think we can overcomplicate it. I think just apply, just go for it and don't keep delaying is the first thing. Go, Mark.
A question for you, Lizi. How did you find the openness or the mindset of the organizers you have worked with? Was that difficult to approach, or were they very easy, or how was your experience?
Mostly I have found, so what I usually do is find the event that I want to apply for, and then before I fill in the application form, I will just send an email or make contact some way and just say, I'd really love to apply for your event, and I'm going to be filling in your application form. Are you still taking applications, or is there anything in particular? Is there a theme for your event? I'll ask a question just to try and get some kind of engagement. And I have almost always had a positive response saying that they're looking forward to having my my application. There's just one that is on my radar as it's a very prestigious TEDx event that I would really love to get on their stage. When I initially approached them, and I'd never given a TEDx before, I had quite a brief reply saying, don't bother, we only, we invite people. If you haven't heard from us and we haven't invited you, don't bother applying. We'll see. I might go back to them and try them again. But generally, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. TEDx organisers, in my experience, apart from, this very prestigious one that I mentioned, they're just people, right? They're people who have a passion for putting on an event, and they need people to apply. Not everyone who applies is going to be right for them, but they need these applications to come in. So, in my experience, TEDx organisers are very much like Mark, who is clearly friendly and smiley and approachable, and somebody that you could just say, hi, are you taking applications? So I think that's the first thing. First thing is, don't overcomplicate it, overthink it. Don't imagine that there's this kind of board of terrifying, dragons waiting to shoot you down when you land in their inbox. And then I guess on a more practical level, I think the thing that has stood me in good stead is when we complete the application is to be really thinking about and researching and looking at what is this particular event and these particular organisers looking for? What's the theme of the event? What are they all about? What kind of speakers have they had before? I think we can often make the mistake of just going in with, there's this thing I want to do on a stage. And if it's not a good fit, it doesn't matter how good you are as a speaker or how good your idea is. And so I think whenever I apply, I start from the perspective of what are they looking for? What can I offer them? And then build it, and what do I want to say? And I think that is why I've managed to kind of get chosen for 3 TEDx events. I apparently made the shortest shortlist for another one, and then they decided that my talk wasn't quite the right fit for their event, but they loved it, and it would be, they want me to come back another time to try again. And I suppose tied into that is, for TEDx, it's a very kind of unique phrase that is used, which is ideas worth spreading. And so somebody was trying to pick my brain about their TEDx application and this whole kind of idea that she wanted to apply to speak about. And I said to her, this is all really interesting, but what's your idea? And she said, yeah, but there's all this research that's been done and people need to hear about it. I'm like, yeah, but what's your idea at the core of this that you want to share and she went, oh, right, okay, I get this now. So I think, the clue is given to us. I think actually TEDx makes it really easy because it's across the board. Every TEDx event is ideas worth spreading. So I guess if you start from the perspective of what is this event looking for and what is my idea, then that's, in my opinion, kind of where to start that application.
I totally agree. Of course, there's no guarantee if you apply somewhere that they take you immediately. Of course not. But I especially want to encourage introverts, or also women who are often introverts, unfortunately, or people who just don't have the confidence to go on a stage by themselves. We as organizers, we have the job to prepare you for the stage. So if you have a cool topic, why not trying? What can you lose? What is that's the very hard point we as organizers have to fight with, because we try to desperately find interesting people, but sometimes they just don't have the confidence to apply.
Yeah. Oh my God, which in a way leads us to the next touch points. That is, okay, you got accepted for a TEDx talk, or you even got invited. Okay, now the talk is in a few months. What do you do to prepare? So what is your perspective, Lizi, and what is your perspective, Mark?
Firstly, I would say there is nothing more exciting, no thrill bigger than that email, that when the email comes up and you see it's from TEDx like, oh my God, and you open it and they say, congratulations, you've been selected. And I normally swear quite a lot and jump up and down and phone people. So it's just such a thrill when you get that email. In terms of preparing, it's really interesting actually, Jessica, because of the two that I've actually seen all the way through to being on stage, and the third one that I saw quite a long way through, is that the second TEDx I did, TEDx Northwich, was run by a team who had a very, very clear schedule of what was going to happen for preparing. So by this date, we want to see your first draft. By this date, we want to get on a Zoom with you and hear you deliver it. By this date, we want to have your revisions back. For me, that was brilliant. It really helped me to stay on top of it and stay kind of, you know, it was a long process crafting this talk for a number of months with the support of the team that did it. The first time I did a TEDx, it was kind of a university-based one, kind of mainly being run by students. So it was a very different experience. And they kind of looked to me as like, you're the expert, you know, you're great, get on the stage and talk. And it was much more left down to me. So I think having done that second one now, I would, in any future TEDx that I do, kind of follow that same process, because it was really helpful to start early and keep going back to it and keep revising it and keep editing and shortening it, and going backwards and forwards with the organisers was really, really helpful. So I guess starting it as early as you possibly can, as soon as you get that acceptance email, just to start writing and start editing, and just know that whatever you write at first is not going to be the talk that you end up giving, if you kind of do it right. So.
So funny. Thank you,
Right.
Lizi. Mark, what is your perspective? What happens on your side when a talk is being prepared? How long does it take? What is the timeline? Are there any phases, any deadlines that need to be observed?
Yes, we also have deadlines, but it depends on the speaker. No, for example, the artist I mentioned before, we visited him in his atelier, and he was like having really literally 1,000 notes on his walls. His whole walls were covered with notes just to prepare his talk. So awesome. And everybody is different. So you might prepare a talk reading silently on your couch, or you are totally different. But we have, especially we in Stuttgart, we are proud of being very speaker centric. So we try to prepare them the best way we can. We have our own speaker coaches in our team that can help with speaking, with breathing, with presentation, with storytelling. And we try the best to prepare them. And we have especially 2 deadlines. So one halfway through, there's a rehearsal. So even if your idea is not finished yet, you should have a clear vision or a clear strategy where to go. And we have a rehearsal, a second rehearsal, just short before the event, 1 or 2 weeks before, where the talk should be almost perfected. And yeah, so, and through that time, of course, if you need help in different aspects, we are there for you. So we try to serve the speakers as best as we can as a team. Yes.
I think from the speaker perspective, the thing that I always find most challenging is learning the talk, because generally my experience is, if you do TEDx, you are expected to kind of memorize virtually word for word a talk that can be up to like 18 minutes long, and it has to be virtually word for word, because those words get really checked by the team, don't they, Mark? And they have to be really vetted and make sure that if you are, you know, referencing any kind of research, that you kind of get that all right and that everything is exactly right, so that, you know, when you as the organizer then go to TED for approval to be uploaded, there's all sorts of things that have to happen. And so it's not one of those talks where you can kind of have some rough bullet points in your head and then just talk around them when you get on stage. It is essentially memorizing, you know, however long, 10, 18 minutes of text. And it's hard. It's really hard. And from a speaker perspective, I think that when I've been kind of working with the other speakers in the lead up to it, that's the thing that worries us all the most. It's not, am I going to get my point across the way I want to? Is it going, I'm going to, you know, move my arms the way I should, or am I going to find the, you know, it's, am I going to forget my talk? Am I going to dry up on the stage? That's the thing that all of us were most scared of. And it did happen to me, actually. I completely forgot what I was meant to say. And I needed a prompt, and it was fine because when it gets uploaded to YouTube, they edit it and nobody knows. So it's okay.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the way we count down our speakers as well. So there are 2 points. Of course, you have to have more than just a red line through your story. So word by word is maybe a bit too much, but you have to follow your main topics. And the second one is, of course, if you forget your words, forget your sentences, we can edit the video afterwards. So just breathe out, breathe in, and continue. So that's not that bad on a stage. Of course, the people at the event will see it, but not the people on YouTube. So afterwards, it will be totally fine.
Okay, now guys, because yes, sorry, 10 seconds.
Yeah, no, sorry, go on. I can't remember if I told you, Jessica, about why I forgot my words and told you the story about what went wrong. So I knew my talk word for word, inside out, back to front. I could do it in my sleep. I could do it standing on my head. I knew my talk. And when I was in the green room beforehand, I was trying to really support and help the other speakers who maybe weren't as experienced as me. And I was feeling quite self-assured. It's fine, I've got this. And then what happened was the host of the event kind of did the intro, and now it's Lizi Jackson-Barrett, and everyone was clapping, and on I walked and got halfway across the stage, and the microphone pack fell out of the back pocket of my jeans and was kind of trailing on the stage behind me. And I kind of picked it up and put it back in my pocket, but I knew that if something had come dislodged and it didn't capture the recording properly, my talk would never make it to YouTube. So in that kind of second, I knew I can't just stand here and start this talk now. I need someone to check this. So I walked on and got halfway across the stage, didn't make it onto the red dot, scooped up my mic pack and just carried on walking straight across to the other side of the stage, to where the organisers were saying, no, the sound team's on the other side, you've got to go back, so that I walked back across the stage again. And it was, it was okay. I didn't feel as kind of awful and mortified as some people might do in that situation. But it did mean that I lost my focus and lost my thread, and about 5 minutes into the talk I just dried up and couldn't remember the next sentence. However, from a confidence perspective, what I always say to people in that kind of situation is actually when things go a bit wrong, the audience just gets behind you more. You just have more support, more applause, more warmth.
Right.
And I just really kind of, that's what I focused on, and tried not to give myself too hard a time about forgetting a line.
Right. And if you pause as a speaker, if you pause for 1 or 2 seconds, you think it's long. The audience thinks, no, they start to clap and everything's happy afterwards. So no worry about that. And also, we also had professional speakers who forgot something. So it's not a thing of newbies on the stage or something. It's totally, it happens to everyone. You just don't see it. Even on TED, there are the TED live events we can watch every year. And there you see professional and high-level speakers that forget words, sentences, that fall on the stage or whatsoever. But you don't see that afterwards because it will get edited out. So no worries.
Okay, now I understand, because I was very surprised. On one side, I was able to understand this, but on the other side, I was like, Lizi, what are you talking about? Why is everybody scared to forget their script? And why are you telling us, and you, Mark, too, why are you telling us, guys, that people do forget their scripts all the time, right? And weird things happen, because I've never seen anything like this before. Course, on YouTube, right? I've been to a few TEDx, talks, conferences, live ones here, especially here in Switzerland and in Italy, but they were fine. And then all the others, like most of the ones that I saw, were and I'm talking about hundreds of TEDx talks on YouTube, they were perfect. So I was like, what are you guys talking about? How can people forget? How can weird things happen on stage? Aha, it's all edited. Now we know. Now you know, guys at home. Yes, that's great. Okay, so now I think we have already got into touch point number 3 a little bit, but maybe we can still spend some time on touch point number 3, which is actually the day of the event, and maybe, you know, take another angle. So we talked about scripts, we've talked about forgetting the scripts, weird things that happen, and so on. What else is worth mentioning for you, Lizi, and you, Mark, too, about the day of the event from your own perspectives?
I think this is where I come to lean on the organisers the most. Is I think everything they do to support me leading up to it is really, really important. But on that day, emotions are high, energy is high. The you know, when I walked into the green room where some of the other speakers were already waiting before the event, I felt like you could literally feel the air crackling with nerves and excitement and tension, and it's a really charged kind of feeling amongst the speakers. And I think for the organisers to really manage that and to let us know you're safe and we've got you and this event is great and we've got an amazing audience. It was so important, I think, especially for those speakers in the cohort I was in who maybe were more nervous, more scared, less used to standing on stage, very inexperienced speakers. But even for me as an experienced speaker, I really valued just knowing that actually I don't have to worry about anything. This is all taken care of, and having that the organisers there to just kind of hold our hands through the whole thing was so important and so appreciated.
Right, absolutely. I think we did our first one in 2012, and since then, at least yearly. And I think we have reached a level where we try to make it as comfortable for the speakers as possible. So we recommend that they are with us the full day. So not just arriving for the talk and afterwards leaving, but being there for the audience, for questions. Also enough time before to prepare the talk, maybe test the microphone on stage and try to go through your talk again before, that there's enough time. That there is catering, that everyone is happy and calmed down, and there's a space for the speakers there, where they can relax or at least calm down. We had one speaker, a wonderful guy. We couldn't find him anymore because he got to a place where nobody could find him, so he can calm down better. We had people who played piano. We had people who eat something whatsoever. So every person is different, and and that's definitely an important thing, that the organisers make the speakers comfortable in that on that day. Yes.
Yeah. All right, that's so cool. And I have a little question. Maybe we can go on a tangent for a couple of minutes. You said, Mark, that you recommend that all speakers stay at the event like the whole day, from the morning till the evening, or the beginning and the end to the end of the conference, which is great. And then you said it's great also because this way they can be available for question, which I interpreted in my own way, of course, from the perspective of the publicist. So are there any journalists usually that attend conferences, and maybe they attend, you know, as private people, so you don't even know that they're journalists, but are there any journalists that attend, let's say, in their official role, and are they allowed usually to have a few minutes on the side with the speakers in order to interview them and maybe to interview the organisers as well? Has it happened to you guys?
I think we have mixed experience with that. Yes. Please, Lizi.
No, that's it. Just not to my knowledge. I'm not aware of having had any journalists there, and actually, I don't know that journalists are that interested in the fact that a TEDx event is happening. There'd have to be some kind of real hook or something in one of the talks, I think, or from one of the organisers to entice them there. Maybe, I don't know. What do you think, Mark?
We have mixed feelings about our journalism in that regard. In the very beginning of our event, I think we had a journalist there, but he didn't understand the topic at all. So what's that? A conference with different talks about different topics and different people. That's not an IT conference. That's not a fit. What's that? But during the years it gets better, but we don't do special dates or special matches to match the speakers with journalists, but of course they can approach you if they visit our event and you as a speaker are at our event. We try to make the atmosphere as open as possible, catering, networking breaks, kind of that, so that you are able to be approached by everyone who is there. And I think that creates also the openness atmosphere that TEDx is known for. So that's a very important point. But of like journalists, not especially. So we're not there for making journalists happy. We are there for making the TED crowd happy. And I think that's much more important than having good journalist-centric publicity. If journalists love that topic, perfect, but we're not doing it for that only.
Yeah, I asked this question because a few years ago I did PR for TEDx Lugano, and I had like a double role, but it was very unofficial. And well, one of them was because I was traveling a lot for work and privately. Then whenever I would meet somebody that could become a good speaker for TEDx Lugano for that year, that I would just invite them. Okay, and most of them got accepted. And then the other thing that I was doing was PR. So basically I was inviting influencers, bloggers, and journalists as well. And they were actually, at least here in Switzerland, they were very happy. They would travel from all around Switzerland. So from the French part of Switzerland, the German part of Switzerland, down to Lugano, the Italian part of Switzerland. But Switzerland is very small, so it's like a 3-hour train ride anyway. And yes, so we had a few journalists and especially a lot of influencers that came, and that was a success because of course we wanted to give as much, let's say, attention and exposure to the event as possible. We always try to, of course, as you said, Mark, the main purpose is of course to make the audience, the TEDx audience, happy. This is a priority, of course. But if you can also, of course, you know, have different purposes and repurpose, so to say, at the same time, repurpose and have different angles and so on, then we try to do it in publicity, like in public relations, usually. That's why. But that was my experience. That was my own role at that particular conference. So, of course, I mean, it doesn't have to happen all the time. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you for this answer. Now we get into touch point number 4, which is the last one. And I see that we're approaching the end of our conversation as well, which is after the event. What happens after the event? What happens in terms of, you know, follow-up, in terms of marketing? How long is the lead time in order for, you know, the recording of the TEDx speed, the TEDx talk in question to be ready, you know, to be on the website, to be disseminated? What happens? What has happened thus far from your perspectives, guys?
But the first thing that happens after the event is we all go and get very drunk together. Right? That's the first thing. Like, thank God that's over. Where's the wine? After that, I'll let Mark take over answering you.
Okay, got it.
Do you go get drunk? Yeah, you too? You all go get drunk?
No, unfortunately, no. Luckily not, because we as organizers, we have to make sure that we are out of the building at midnight, because otherwise we would need to pay another day for the venue. So we mostly don't do after parties or something like that, but we invite our speakers and the team, or who wants at the morning after, to a breakfast at a nice location, and just talking with the speakers, with the team. So that's our way, but of course that's different. It depends on location. Some teams have to pay for their venue, some others don't and use their venue or whatsoever. So that's just our story. Yeah, well, what do you want to know? What, or what? How do you expect it as a speaker to be followed up by the team?
It's interesting because I think out of the whole kind of TEDx journey that I've been on a couple of times now, for me, that's probably the bit where I still have a lot more, like obviously there's always more to learn in every area, but this is where I think there's definitely more that I could be doing and could have learned. And yeah, which is about just getting my talk seen and gaining the publicity that I want it to have. And I am still unsure whether it's possible for just someone like me speaking at a local TEDx event to hit really, really big viewing numbers on YouTube without paying for them. So I was approached after my talk by a couple of different agencies offering to get me, I don't know, like 100,000 views or likes for however much money. And for a while, I seriously considered it. Because I know, because that's part of the prestige, right? Not only that you've done a TEDx talk, but you've got done a TEDx talk that hits, 500,000 views or whatever. And I thought, what am I doing? This is like, why would I spend my hard-earned money on these kind of numbers? So in the end, I'm glad I caught myself before I did that. But I think there is that real pressure from a speaker. It really feels, I mean, I guess the first thing to say is there's quite a long time between the event finishing and the talk going live on YouTube, on the TEDx channel, because there's so many different checks and things that have to be done first before TED will kind of release it. So there's this long wait. But yeah, I do think that that's an area certainly for improvement from my knowledge and understanding, and for me to really think about kind of what would success look like for me after the event, in terms of what that talk sitting there on YouTube then does for me, says about me, who gets to see it, how I get the right people to see it, how I get enough people to see it. So yeah, I that's kind of my experience, is that's the bit that, yeah, I don't know. Mark, what do you think? Have you got some wisdom for me?
I think there's a rule. I don't know it word by word, but I think the recommendation from TED is that you should upload the videos to them in max 4 weeks. So, but what happens afterwards is not clear to us as well. So the videos get reviewed depending the topic. We maybe, as an organizer, we have to explain something more because on some topics, medical topics, scientific topics, they are very picky on what you are present on your stage. Understandable. But it depends. It depends on the talk. Sorry. I wouldn't, as you said, Lizi, I wouldn't match your happiness or connect your happiness with numbers. We have some wonderful talks in TEDx Stuttgart the last years, and they don't get the millions of views, but are really, really good talks. And it also depends on how you market yourself afterwards. I know a guy from us, a former speaker, who is kind of the champion of self-marketing. He got 100,000 of views because he integrates his video in every email, newsletter, homepage, whatsoever. Of course, you get more views. If it's quality views, that's a different topic. If it's the right people, that's a different topic. But you have now the video of yourself, and you can yourself create a marketing path for you that fits you perfectly. And you don't have to buy viewers, I think, but just to have this video online is a really cool opportunity.
That is awesome. Yeah.
I think from the speaker perspective as well, one final thing that happens afterwards that I really value is that the speakers, it's a process that brings you together with this group of speakers and the organizers. And I think you become very, very close. It's a really important shared experience, supporting each other through that. And so I am still in a WhatsApp group with the speakers that I was on stage with last year, and we, we still speak and we still support each other and share things, and it's I feel like I now have a bond with these, 11 other people that I'm always going to have, because we shared this really amazing experience together. And I love that. I love that I'm part. It's not just stand on a stage, give a talk and go away. You become part of this tribe of people who are working together to create something really magical.
Right. I know also a guy from London at our first event, a guy from London, a guy from Berlin, and another woman, I think, ended up in a bar, in the hotel bar, because they stayed at the same hotel and until 3 o'clock in the morning, but they came to the breakfast anyway. So yeah, you never know what happens, whom you meet there, and
Wow.
use that. And that's wonderful to hear that you still have, still are in connection with your former speakers, with the team maybe. And yeah, that's awesome.
That is great. Oh my God, guys, we are really approaching the end of our conversation today, unfortunately. But I would refrain from asking you the questions that I ask, the last question that I asked to every one of my guests. I would propose something different. And Lizi is like, oh my God, this is dangerous. Again, we never know what comes out of Jessica's mind, especially in the moment. No, it's something really, really soft and also short and sweet. So Lizi, what would you ask Mark? Something really quick. And Mark, what would you ask Lizi? Something really, short and sweet.
I would ask Mark, what would be the thing that kind of, you reach the end of a TEDx event that makes you say, I'm so glad we asked them to speak for us. They were amazing.
Okay. And I would ask you, what do you expect, or what can organizers do better to comfort speakers or applicants, so to speak? So I try to answer your question. Can you describe it in more detail a little bit? Or
so I guess, what would it take for you to be really, really pleased that you invited a certain speaker to stand on your stage? What would it take what would you see from them? What would they give? What would they do that would make you say they were a brilliant choice? Well done, me, for choosing such a good speaker.
Okay, first, but that's probably my personal opinion. They need to be happy. If they walk off the stage and see that that they have delivered a great talk, that they are really passionate about and they love it, and that the audience loves it, that's really awesome to see. That really touches me as well. I had some experience in that way as well, with seeing speakers come off the stage and be really happy about what they delivered, about what made it a good event. That's a different thing, because the audience you can't control. You can invite, of course, cool people, but you don't know who is sitting in the audience. But that's why I think I concentrate personally on speakers and how they feel, because that's what I can control backstage. That's how I can talk to them in the preparation period before the talk. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing for me.
That's great.
Really, you just want everyone to be happy.
Right.
Yes, Mark has such a big heart, as we knew. This has just been confirmed. And Lizi, how would you respond to Mark's question?
I think if I just try and think of a very kind of short answer to that, around being what I look for from the organisers, I suppose it's just a sense that we're all in it together, that I'm not being left to just go and try and create the best talk of my life, that we are, it's a kind of very collaborative process, a conversation backwards and forwards, where I get feedback, where I get support, where, I feel safe to go to them and say, I'm feeling really panicky, and know that that's okay. I think for me, that's what matters most, is just knowing that that's it now, we're part of this team, we're going to go through this process together. And when you stand on that stage, it's going to be as a result of everything we've done together as a group.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Absolutely.
Great.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
We all love it. Mark, myself, everybody at home, we all love it. Guys, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for making the time. Thank you so much for bringing such good energy and your experience and your expertise. This has been amazing. I think we have to do it again. What do you think?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Definitely, yes.
So much more to say.
Exactly. It feels like we've been talking for an hour, but it feels like that we've just scratched the surface, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. So lovely members of the audience at home, we will be back. Lizi and Mark will be back on panel number 2. And I don't know, we'll make it happen in the next few months, maybe February or March. It takes time, guys, to find a common slot because these two lovely people are very, very busy. Exactly. Awesome. So guys, thank you so much again for this lovely present that you gave to us, to the personal PR community.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yes.
Thank you. Yes. And yes, and I'll see you very soon for the next episode of the Personal PR Show. I can't remember exactly when, I think in 2 days. And we will have Annie, who's a dear friend of mine, also my accountability partner. And she's also the head of community, global head of community of Mind Valley. So we talk about, you know, build the community building, community management and all that stuff. It's going to be amazing.
You know all the best people, Jessica. You really do.
You want to just ask my friend? All right, perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Lizi, Mark, and everybody at home, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care. Bye.